You guys know that I was very lukewarm on the Pixel 10 Pro Fold, and the biggest reason was that the 9 Pro Fold looked and seemed so remarkably similar to this device. It just didn't seem to me like Google was doing enough to warrant me spending the money to buy this device, especially when I already had the Galaxy Z Fold 7 or the Honor Magic V5 here in-house already. Was this really going to be a good enough device to pull me away from either one of those? Well, guys, it's been a month now since the 10 Pro Fold came out. Obviously, I ended up buying this device. You're going to hear a little bit more about why that is in a video that I'm going to publish tomorrow in the wife approved tech playlist. And just a small spoiler alert, it's because my wife wanted to use the 9 Pro Fold and I wanted to have foldable from Google still in the studio at all times. That was a big sort of factor in me buying this device. But it's been a month now, and I have been very pleasantly surprised by how good this phone actually is and how well it holds up to these other devices. So I thought what I would do in this video is kind of go over the biggest low points and the biggest high points of this device in sort of a list fashion, because we all know the internet loves lists. And we're going to start off by talking about the low points. Okay, these are the things about the Pixel 10 Pro Fold that I think Google probably needs to address. And I've already talked about the performance of this device in some prior videos where I've shown you that it's not like a huge difference, this device versus something like the Galaxy Z Fold 7. But we have to be honest here. It is slower than the Galaxy Z Fold 7. The Tensor G5 is better than the G4, but it's just not on the same level as something like the Snapdragon 8 Elite. And of course, there are more Snapdragon processors coming down the line all the time. So this is just not fast enough, not necessarily for the average user doing normal things. I mean, let's be honest, what are most of us doing on our phones most of the time? Okay, we're scrolling through social media or something like that. We're watching videos, we're posting, things on social, normal things like that. You're not going to notice a difference. This device is not going to feel slow. But that being said, when you put it next to a device like this, which is one of its direct competitors, it is literally slower. And of course, Google always says, oh, well, this is the Tensor, and it's made for AI tasks. It's meant to do Google Pixel things, AI things that are enabled by this processor. But guys, I just don't buy it. I do not buy for a second that there are any AI things that the Tensor can do that the Snapdragon 8 Elite can't do. And in fact, when you put these devices side by side, as I have done on this channel, and you have them do the same sorts of AI tasks side by side, what you're going to find is that the Z Fold 7 actually gets them done faster. We can look at this in real time. We are in Help Me Edit. This is a thing where it's going to use AI to generate something on top of this photo. I'm asking it to generate a bloom onto a flower onto this plant. And we'll see which one actually gets this done faster. Now, yes, this is happening in a data center, so you would expect them to be exactly the same, but they're not exactly the same. The Z Fold 7 is noticeably faster. Now, I think that they both did probably come up with a pretty darn good result. That's actually the more accurate color for that particular daffodil, which it actually did recognize that that's what it was. That's pretty cool. But again, you saw it. It was faster, and it shouldn't be faster, but it is. Again, it's not a deal breaker. This is not a slow phone. No matter what you're doing, it's going to feel fast and smooth. But if you do something that, like I said, is a little bit more heavily intense, something like gaming, something like video processing, or even some of these AI tasks, and you compare it to these other phones, it is slower, and Google does need to address that. This processor needs to get faster, and it needs to do it quickly. I get that it's saving Google money, but that's not really great for us. Something else I would love to see Google improve on is going to be with their multitasking. It's absolutely functional, right? You can swipe up to get to your taskbar. You can come down here, grab an app, and drag it into place, and that's fine. And you now do have the 90-10 split thing, which does work really well. But I mean, that's really all you can do. Okay, you can't have more than 2 apps in split screen like you can on other devices. You can't have a floating window. Apparently that's something that might be coming relatively soon, but you can't do it right now. And something that's really started to bug me is that there isn't a sort of quick split screening gesture like you have on these other devices. I really started to like how they did it on these Honor phones. So if we open up an application, I can swipe up and drag it to this corner, and now we're in split screening, and what I have is my home screen. So what I can do is just select another application from my home screen, sort of muscle memory style, and now I'm straight into split screening. There's nothing like this on the Pixel device. And on the Samsung device, you have something similar here as well. We'll just go into the weather application, and I can do a 2-finger swipe in, and I have an alphabetical app drawer. Is that as good to me? No, because it doesn't really work in terms of like muscle memory, but it is still a quick gesture that can get you into split screening, and it works really, really well. I wish that Google would adopt something like that. But yeah, several things about multitasking that I just don't think are quite good enough. And I want to be clear, this is not something that I'm saying Google can't do. It's just something they haven't prioritized. They just haven't chosen to do it. The third thing is with the camera. So Pixel cameras have always been known as cameras that are just point and shoot ready. You take a photo and you probably don't ever have to take a second photo. It's going to just be a solid, usable picture. And that's absolutely true here. But what I miss is the way older Pixel photos looked. They had more punch, more kick, more contrast. And in fact, up until the Pixel 10, they were really kind of desaturating their photos. This camera is back to, I think, what should be considered like a normal level of saturation, which is good. But we need more kick. I went as far as grabbing my old Pixel 2 XL, and I took a handful of photos, which you should be seeing kind of scrolling across the screen now. And hopefully what you can see is, yes, the Pixel 10 Pro Fold takes better photos than my Pixel 2, of course. But the Pixel 2 photos have more contrast. They have a more stylish look. It's nothing crazy, right? Like, we're not going full-blown like Oppo Find N5 where like it's super crazy contrasted with crazy colors. It's nothing like that. Just crank up the contrast just a little bit, give it a little bit more style. I think that we're trying to get too close to like perfectly realistic, and yeah, there's something to be said for that. Maybe just give us like a toggle like we have in a lot of camera apps now where you can say vibrant mode, natural mode. Give us something like that to just punch things up a little bit. And then the last thing in terms of the negatives is going to be the weight of this device. It's 260 grams. The Z Fold 7 is under 220. And yes, it is a noticeable difference. And it's not something, I always get comments, people saying you should lift some weights if you can't lift this phone. No one is saying they can't lift this phone. That is such a like pedantic and silly thing to say. Of course we can lift this phone. It's not even a thing of like fatigue. I don't really get tired using this phone. For me, it's mostly just about the feel of this phone. It feels chunky, it feels heavy, and it signals something in my mind that says, oh, this is just a better made phone. Like, this just feels unnecessarily heavy compared to my other foldables now. And yeah, this is subjective, okay? You might not care. To you, heavy might feel robust. But for me, heavy just feels heavy, and I don't want it to be as heavy as it is. Let's get that weight down. I do think it's actually thin enough. I'm not really concerned about the thickness on these devices. That's absolutely fine to me. It's fine. It's the weight that I have issues with. But now we need to talk about the things that are really good, right? I've just hammered this device for approximately 10 minutes, so let's go the other direction. So it is a heavy phone, but you know what? It also has a 5,015 milliamp hour battery, and because of that, battery life is outstanding. It is much better than on the Galaxy Z Fold 7. This is a phone that heavy use days where I'm on cellular most of the day, I'm taking lots of photos, lots of videos, I can make it through the day just fine on this device. Normal days for me, I have, 4, 5, 6 hours of screen on time, and I'm going to bed with 30% of my battery left. It is a zero battery anxiety device for me, no question. It's not as good as the Honor Magic V5, okay? It's just not. The battery's not big enough for that. But it is very, very, very good in terms of battery life. What about this cover display? I think it's absolutely fantastic. The Galaxy Z Fold 7 cover display is very, very good, but I like this one better. It's a little bit shorter and it's a little bit wider, and I think both of those things are very good. It's very comfortable to type on. I like the width, and if you're watching content on like a movie on it and you want to put it up in like tint mode like this, because it's 20 by 9, you have very, very little letterboxing or pillar boxing. This is just a really, really solid, comfortable, good-sized cover display that isn't quite as tall as some of the competition. Something else that probably contributes to the weight is going to be Pixel Snap. So this thing does have compatibility built in for MagSafe, or of course, like I said, Pixel Snap accessories, and I absolutely love this. This is how I've been using this device primarily. This acts as a grip. This acts as a stand if I need it to be a stand or something like that, and it's all on here without the need for a case. If I want to do this on my Galaxy Z Fold 7, I have to slap a case on there, and I do have a thin one. There's aramid fiber and things like that, but that does add a little bit of thickness. And what's funny is when you do that, you've kind of bridged that gap to a large degree in terms of thickness between these two devices, and you've added a little bit of weight as well. So Pixel Snap, whether it's for accessories like this, it's for charging stands and things like that, this I think is a huge win for the Pixel 10 Pro Fold. Big fan of Pixel Snap, bigger fan than I thought I was going to be. Another big positive is in terms of these speakers. They're very loud, they are punchy, they have a decent amount of bass, and I say this every time. There's a speaker here and there's a speaker here, which means it's stereo no matter how you hold the device. I really like the speakers on this phone. They're definitely louder than the Galaxy Z Fold 7. Not as loud as the Honor Magic V5, but I think that in some ways they sound better. Sometimes the V5 distorts just a little bit when it's at max volume. Regardless, these are very good speakers that I think deserve a little bit of praise. And last but not least, and this is sort of a category with several things within it, we just have to talk about the software experience. This is a Pixel device, and this is why you buy a Pixel device. It's for the software, right? And let's just highlight a few things. Voice typing on this thing, absolutely fantastic. We'll just go into an application where I can type. And if I go into my settings here and go into voice typing, I wanted to show you something. Voice commands. So while you're just voice typing, you can quickly just say, make it professional, emojify it, elaborate it, and it will use AI to quickly regenerate what you have been typing. But you also have commands, send, stop, delete, clear, all these things. You can just do this while you're voice typing. All of these commands just happen. It's accurate, it's fast, it is the best voice typing on any phone on planet Earth. And as someone who hates typing on glass, it is a lifesaver for me. What about Pixel Studio? I absolutely love Pixel Studio. You know how many wallpapers I have made with Pixel Studio? If you go to shanecraig.tech/wallpapers, you will see a lot of them. But it's just really, really good. You type in a description, you give it a style, and it's going to give you an image. And if, again, you're trying to make a wallpaper that is super, super custom, better than the built-in AI wallpaper thing that you have on Pixel devices, this is such a good way to go. And then they're actually going to be improving this very, very soon. Maybe by the time you've watched this, you're going to be able to turn these little images into animations. So if you want to make a cool image and then animate it and then send that off as a GIF in a text message or something like that, you're going to be able to do that. So Pixel Studio, I love it, and it's only getting better. We saw earlier on in this video the help me edit thing within Google Photos, where you can just tell it what you want to have happen and it's going to do it. And here's a good example of how I use it all the time. I take photos of phones, products for use as thumbnails or for use on my website. Here's a photo that I took, and you can see I could probably have used this photo just fine, but what I did is I went into Magic Editor, Help Me Edit, and I told it to replace the background with something that was more visually interesting, and this is what it came up with. And I do this for thumbnails now all the time. We'll do this in real time. We're going to try to replace the background on a photo of the Pixel 10 Pro Fold, and we're going to try to replace it from being a photo of inside my studio to a green foresty view, and that is what it has come up with. And obviously, here's the original image. It did change my hand a little bit as well, but, no one's going to notice something like that. More often than not, it doesn't actually change my hand. I'm not sure why it actually felt the need to do that. They're kind of odd. But I could re-roll this and do something again. But again, guys, I use this for thumbnails fairly often, and then, it goes beyond just thumbnails. We went to the zoo the other day, and I took a bunch of pictures, and guess what? The animals are largely inside cages, And just watch this. Just watch how ridiculous this is. Help me edit, and it should actually recognize that there is a fence. There it is, erase fence. I don't even have to say anything. I can just tap it. And watch what this is going to do. This blows my mind that we are at this point where we can just get rid of a fence like that. Absolutely amazing. There's a little bit of something going on down here at the bottom, but unless I pointed that out to you, you're not going to notice that at all. Help Me Edit is absolutely fantastic, and I have used it a ton. Would you believe me if I told you there was a fence in this photo at some point? Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. This is such an amazing feature, and there's more than just that, okay? So we have just Material 3 Expressive in general. I love the way that Pixel phones look. I love the way their animations look. I love how things kind of theme. How about this small thing? Why is Google the only OEM who has a notification shade that is dual panel? Quick settings, notifications, side by side, one swipe. I don't need to swipe and swipe again or swipe left or right. It's all just right there. You have a wider screen. Just do dual panel. It's two phones side by side. Just do that. I don't understand why no one else does this. And I could keep going. Call screening, now playing. Like this could be a 20-minute video on its own, just all the software things that are still amazing about Pixel devices. A lot of them are not exclusive to just the Pixel 10, like the Magic Cues feature that has literally never come up a single time. That is, one of the supposed big things for Pixel 10. Completely useless. Again, it literally does not work for me at all. I've never had it come up. I would have preferred some sort of reimagining of the old Google Now concept over what they actually gave us, but that's neither here nor there. Pixel's software, that is the reason that you buy it, and it is as good as it's ever been right now on the Pixel 10 Pro Fold. So while there are some things that kind of annoy me about this device, it does need to get faster. Multitasking does need to have some features added to it. The things that matter the most: battery life, usability, intelligence. Let's give another shout out to Pixel Snap. Maybe that's part of that usability category. These things are strengths for this device, and they make it a very compelling daily driver. The lows can be frustrating, but a lot of it can be fixed potentially through software updates. That being said, buy a phone for what it is right now, not what it's going to be potentially, hypothetically, later on. But if Google does polish away some of these quirks, they aren't just going to have a great foldable, which is what they have. They might have the best foldable, period. Guys, thanks for watching. Subscribe for more content like this, and until next time, stay nerdy, my friends.